Welcome back. This is the last session of the day, and we are not starting any topic per se in this particular session. So we'll just go for an agendaless discussion, which will give us some glimpse of the inquiry as a process, unstructured process rather. So yeah, so I request Dr. Kaur to raise the point that she was mentioning in the previous session.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are clearly.
Actually, the psychological element in the physical ailments is quite a bit. Uh, Even if a person is having a small ailment, the fear is so much that it is overdriving him for over medication. So that balance of life and death, and that fear element is growing more and more. People are, I don't know earlier how it was there, but as and more technology is there, medication is more, and investigations are more. So how a person can have an homeostatic, outlook towards life and death? How that fear, because according to inquiry, religions do talk about it, and what is life, and we don't take birth, we don't die, all such concepts are there. But at the level of inquiry, how to explore this field so that one does not have so much of fear of death.
Yes.
That sort of thing is there in my mind, that lot of fear, that sensation keeps arising in that something should not happen to my son, something should not happen to my husband, my parents. So although i I know the truth to some extent, but still how to inquire into it so that these things lose their hold, like.
Yes. 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 Binal, would you like to reflect on this?
In fact, I was thinking of one more question while Dr. Kaur was talking about fear. I hear a lot of people claiming about knowledge. If they have knowledge, then the fear goes away. So I was wondering whether that is so. Uh, you know,
Yes.
so that was running in my mind actually when you were sharing this. As
Hmm.
far as dying is concerned, then the physical body we all know would perish. Uh, but psychologically also, is it possible for us where we are left with that responsive memory that we had talked about earlier in the day, and then it's that reactive memory which is a build-up that keeps happening, and we store it and accumulate it. So can we keep questioning as and when it keeps landing on the perception, is what was coming to mind. So,
Hmm.
as in when we are forming beliefs, if we keep questioning, then in a way we are dying to that moment. And then, you know, death doesn't become then a point in future. Then we are living with dying as a process.
Yes. So for Shanta, let me repeat the mm, proposal that we are discussing. We are trying to inquire together about the fear of death that is commonly experienced by most of the people, most of us. So So beautifully, Beenal brought the understanding of death. So she picked up two aspects basically. One aspect is the physical death, and other aspect is the psychological death. So one is the physical death, that is an obvious thing for all the organisms, irrespective of their state of health. The timeline differs, but the death is obvious, the physical death. Now, how one perceives death psychologically, that will actually bring the state of fear or no fear. How one perceives death psychologically. Now, if we are inquiring in our life, then what is the meaning of the inquiry? The meaning of inquiry, looking at the moment timelessly. Looking at the moment timelessly, without any, timelessly means without any influence. Without any influence of past or influence of future. As if it is just happening now afresh. What does it mean? If there is no past and there is no influence of future in the present moment, then I'm dying every moment and I'm being born every moment. That is what is the inquiring life. For an inquirer, it's every moment dying and rebirthing, or rather birthing. So if we understand death at that depth, then where is the point of fear? Because unless I die, I will not be able to look fresh, look at something, some moment afresh. So death is very much important as being born again, and it's a continuous process. So if this depth of understanding of death prevails, the fear dissolves, isn't it? Then we'll go deeper at the level of fear also to understand fear. What is your reflection, Dr.
Yeah, there are moments when, this feeling is realized that there is nothing to die actually. There is, everything is like, fresh. And there is nothing in me which dies. But that fear element is there, that fear, because fear is so much ingrained in our conditioning, and we have, as children, we had so much fearful life, fear from everybody. So that fear is there in spite of the knowledge, as Bina was telling, ki if we have the knowledge and inquiry also, understanding about there is nothing actually to die actually, but that fear is still there.
And
That
how do
sort
I
of
meet
thing.
my fear?
Yeah.
When I see fear in me,
Hmm.
how do I see it? That's very important in the
Yeah.
complete
I
process
used
of
to
development.
suppress it.
Right.
That
So,
suppression was the attitude,
what is your
but now
present dealing?
present is letting it be. If it is coming, it is coming.
Right.
If the fear is there, just letting it come to the surface the way it wants
So,
to come.
so under the framework of P1, P2, P3, fear is a P2, is a sensation
Hmm. Hmm.
coming out of some idea which is proposing me a negative consequence. It's a sensation, isn't it? Now, if I look at that sensation with another sensation, that I have to get rid of it. The sensation can be identified with conclusion. that I have to get rid of it. It's a conclusion. It's a kind of fixation that is coming, urging me to suppress the
Yeah.
fear.
Mhm.
So all in all, what happens in that route, that I'm already having an extra sensation, I'm bringing another sensation.
Yeah.
Now, if suppose that is also happening, it's a beautiful journey of inquiry, you know, like when I look at an event, when I look at an event and I sense some sensation, when I look at an event and I sense some sensation, and there is no physical source of this sensation that I can identify because I'm just seeing it. There is no extreme light, sound, smell, taste, or touch because the physical source of sensation is easily identified. If we can identify that I have a sensation, but there is no physical source available, so it is definitely coming from some or other ideas which I may not be able to identify. So my sensation will have source from physical side or from idea side. So when I'm seeing and looking at an event and sensing some sensation, and there is no physical source, so that means I am sensing this sensation out of some or other idea about the event which is coming out of some interpretation. So this whole phenomena, the event and my sensation, becomes an event. Tomorrow we'll dive deep into this process of dissolution process of sensation, but this is a glimpse of it. So first the event was there and my sensation was there. An event and my sensation. So here in this case, the proposal of death and my fear. Proposal of death is the event and my fear is the sensation. Now, combining these two together is another event for me. Are you able to comprehend? Combining that event and this sensation is another event altogether for me, which proposes that, okay, there was a proposal of death and I got scared of. This is a whole event. Now, seeing that event, what is my sensation now? Am I demeaning myself to get scared of? Or am I justifying my fear that, okay, everybody gets scared of death, so am I? What's the big deal? If either of the things I'm doing, I'm bringing some other sensation out of ideas. Because these are conclusions that I must not get scared of, is another conclusion. Another conclusion could be, so what if I got scared of? Everybody gets scared of death. This is another two examples of conclusions. You know, so if that sensation is coming, looking at this event, then that again becomes an event for me. And this chain will go on till I sense no sensation in the path of inquiry. So one event and its sensation, combining these together becomes an event, and that event, whether it is bringing a sensation or not, if it is bringing a sensation, then that becomes wholesome, another event. Again, that particular event is bringing a sensation. If it is not, this is the beauty. If it is not, at any point in time, so the beauty is in this progression, that is what is the inquiry. That when I go forward, observing my sensation event after event. And at any point, I see there is no sensation. At any point, I see no sensation. All preceding sensation will get dissolved. At any point, when I identify that there is no sensation at all, genuinely, because this is an internal process, I need not to present it to someone. This is absolutely personal progression. When we proceed with this, and at any point when we identify that there is no sensation at all, then we look back to previous all sensation, we see that all have dissolved. That is the impact of the inquiry. And this cannot be a checklisted process. It's a loose framework that we are discussing. Event and observing the sensation. Event and observing the sensation. And the method of observation will differ individual to individual uniquely. But ultimately, the framework wise, the moment we see that there is no sensation from any idea, the inquiry starts instantly. And start of the inquiry instantly means all previous sensation, what may have occurred, got dissolved. Action wise reflections will be there. Action wise, because of the cellular memory, there will be reflection. But sensation wise, there will be completely dissolution of sensation. That can happen. And that's what is the end of suffering. That's what is the end of suffering instant. I'm not sure if it is. Could you
Yeah.
complete?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Minu joined. Dr. Dubey also joined. Yeah, Joy, you want to reflect upon this topic?
I had experiences of fear long back, like fear of sitting on an airplane, as I lost few of my colleagues in two consecutive crashes in 2016 and 2019. I had this feeling. What I have the experience is that the what we call the fear of death, it is the thought of the death which gives us more fear than actually what can death give. It's the continuous like series of thought. Like suppose after those two incidents, it happened to me that whenever I had to like board an airplane, the previous night was sleepless. It is the continuous thought of how they met that accident, how their aircraft fell into Bay of Bengal. These kinds of thoughts created more fear. And now I'm much more stable nowadays. I do fly in airplane quite frequently. What I feel that if the thought doesn't come, then the fear also dissolves. There is no fear. The more I ponder upon that thought or the like what chain of events could have caused that crash like that. This is my personal experience. That
So
creates more fear.
you escape thoughts?
Pardon?
Do you escape thoughts when it comes?
Yes,
How
yes,
do you?
yes,
How do you?
exactly.
How do you?
Absolutely.
How do you?
I research into it. Like I mean, started first of all, I started doubting that means of transport only. So I did some research and found that it is one of the safest modes of transport like that. And I, since I work in aviation, I concentrated on my work more and ensured that the work is done properly. This was, and I didn't lose any opportunity. Even if I had the fear of flying in an airplane, I didn't lose any opportunity of flying in an airplane by continuously means exposing me to flying. And slowly this series of thoughts which used to come back and hit me, it went away, it dissolved. And nowadays I do not have that feeling. Otherwise I had the feeling like my palms used to get sweaty. It happened means just after the incident in 2016 when we lost one aircraft in Bay of Bengal. You might be remembering from Sulu.
Yes.
That's still missing. And one more happened here in Assam in Mechuka. The aircraft got hit in the hills while going to Machuka. There were two incidents, which means deeply it was very traumatic. And I had this fear. Every time I used to sit in an airplane, I had this fear. Actually, it was the thoughts. It were the thoughts which were disturbing. Now, what could have happened? What could have happened? These thoughts, chain of thoughts used to come. Like this could have happened, how they have died, what kind of scenario it would have been, how means what kind of trauma they could have gone into, what was their reaction, like they must have gone into blackout. These things continuously, like it was a diary of thoughts. And just the same thing you said, inquiry. I started inquiring, and slowly it didn't go away means in a single day. It took time, but eventually nowadays I feel much more comfortable and much more confident while flying in an airplane. So I found that these thoughts are more fearful than actually death could have been. The thoughts, we fear the thoughts.
Yes. And that leads to the question that Vinal was bringing, that whether knowledge eliminates fear or not. There are
Yes, yes.
many proposals that knowledge will eliminate fear. Vinal, your reflection on this, then we'll dive together.
In fact, knowledge, if I start believing in it, then it would again bring about a conclusion. So
That's
if
what I
any
think
piece
Joy
of,
was explaining. The thought is a form of knowledge,
yes.
which was, yeah, go on, please.
So even so I would look at it, even knowledge with maybe, so I would, for example, in Joy's case, next plane ride, it would be that not with the confidence that this will, make me reach the destination safely. That is, I mean, all possibilities are there. But so just like in case of fire also, that we saw that, it could go either way. I mean, so even in this case, I mean, it's not again concluding that this will happen or that will happen. There is a possibility that it can crash also, but generally, I may end up reaching the destination. So we'll see. I mean, it has not happened as yet in the present moment if I'm in the aircraft. So it would again be, we'll see when it happens, rather than concluding that it will happen or it will not happen, both ways. So knowledge, again, coming back to it, if would have to be, again, it won't be a closed chapter. It will have to be reopened, and I mean, the inquiry would again happen. So it would be from knowledge to knowing. That would be where it would be leading to, because it would be a continuous process. Then putting a full stop to it.
Yes. So you mean the conclusion? The conclusion is the knowledge, and it's a non-conclusive looking at is the inquiry, which is synonymous to the knowing, not the knowledge. So knowing only can bring that dissolution of the fear, because the knowledge or the fear, both are conclusion, happens through the ideated sensation. So when we look at it with inquisition, then the conclusion dissolves and we get relieved from all these unwanted sensations. That could be a pride of knowledge, which is equivalent to fear, which is equivalent to anxiety or anger, whatsoever name that we may give. Yeah, Shanta ma'am, are you able to comprehend and be with the group?
Yeah. I'm able to comprehend the concepts you are sharing,
Yes,
but
yes.
still I have a lot of doubts, confusions, because
Yes.
this is a very new concept for me. I have a lot of confusions. Can I ask now?
Yes, ma'am. Please go
Yeah,
on. Today we have
for
another
some
10 minutes.
diseases,
Yes.
for
Yes.
some diseases, it is it is originated from our ideas or the thoughts that reverse the sequence, the thoughts and all. maybe that may produce a toxin and all. Because of that, we get some diseases. But for certain cases, like, PCOD, for my daughter, she is suffering from PCOD. And recently she got, this one removed. What is that? One wisdom tooth removed, because it was coming in a wrong direction and it was giving lot of pain. So for these kinds of things, whether we can, have reason it because of some these kinds of thoughts, or how it is. Certain diseases, they come, but without our knowledge or without reason do they come. How it is, I'm unable to comprehend now at this stage. Many diseases are there, and recently she was diagnosed with thyroid also, and hypertension. So for this, how I'm thinking, is it because she's worrying a lot, or making a lot of negative conclusions like that? I'm
Yes.
just in the thought process.
Yes.
What
yes.
what is the solution like that?
Yes. Yes, let's inquire
So-
and dive little deeper into all these three aspects that you mentioned. One is the PCOD, other is the wisdom tooth,
Yeah,
and
and recently
then thyroidism,
hyperthyroidism, and
Thyroidism.
this one, hypertension.
hypertension
Yeah.
also, right? So
Yeah.
mhm. So first of all, this PCOD, hypothyroidism or hypertension, all these are quite symptomatic evolution of accumulated toxin. Any problem that is happening within may have different kinds of fallout as symptoms. So these are three symptoms that you narrated. There could be furthermore multiple symptoms that may come into, because all of us do experience that one symptom we suppress or don't suppress, that comes along with another symptoms because of the continuation of the same lifestyle. Because the genetic and environment cannot be handled, cannot be reversed instantly. The reversal of lifestyle can be processed by the individual, and how that can be processed, that we'll discuss tomorrow in details, how naturally that can be handled. But definitely these three are symptomatic evolution. The wisdom tooth could be a structural aspect which can have a genetic disposition, and that can be handled looking at it dialectically. And if a dentist can have some understanding of natural health, then that
I'm worried now,
yeah.
because like when they removed that wisdom tooth, they gave lot of antibiotics and many injections, everything.
Yes.
Now, as somebody shared in the group, in the conversation, that these allopathic medicines will be having lot of side effects. I'm really worried at this stage. Like taking these antibiotics, even just to remove a tooth, we need to give lot of medicines. So
Yes,
I'm
there could be some impact of medicine consumed, but the body has got tremendous capability to overcome it also. Body has got all possibilities to overcome if it is given with a chance of conserved energy. So if the individual is interested to understand the concept of energy, how it operates, and also, like, this correlation is very easy for an individual, that energy means a lot of capability. This is a simple, no rocket science is needed to correlate this particular aspect of energy. If one is having a lot of energy, then it has a lot of capability and possibility of action, and that action may happen physiologically also if one has the enough energy inside. So if one can understand and correlate this self-healing capability of an organism, comparing with the experience of energy, then one would look at it very inquisitively, that yes, there is a possibility of me taking care of it, not something externally taking care of it. Because end of the day, any external treatment will target the symptom and may lead some symptomatic relief for some time.
Okay.
These dialectical understanding may lead the individual to inquire further about his or her own experience of body and respond to it. That could be explored, and further I think tomorrow we'll explore together few understanding
Thanks so
where
much.
the
I
natural
got it. I
movement
got
can
Hmm.
So all in all, what we need is having a natural movement reinitiated within us, because with the lot of conditioning, largely from the idea side and some kind of physical inclusion that is also driven by the idea only, be it a medicine or a processed food. So ultimately, if we can look at this idea driven life and inquire into it, then this conditioning get dissolved slowly and gradually. When these dissolve, then what remains is the natural movement within us. So yes, we have another
So this
3 minutes.
inquiry is a sort of silent process, not doing anything.
Not
Just
doing
be
anything,
observing
that decision is also not there, that will not do anything. It's actually emergence of actions happens in an inquiring life. It's not that abstinence of action. It's not taking some planned action per se. So when you say not doing, if you are meaning that not doing anything planned, yes, this is inquiry. But definitely there is no obsession of not doing, that no, will not do anything. This plan is also not there. Do you see the planning there?
Who inquires? Like what part of me inquires? Is there any part, or is it like
See, inquiry is a perceptory dynamism, because perception is very much part
is
of
it
this
with the brain?
existence. It's a psychological domain. It's a psychological domain activity. The dynamic perception is primarily driven by the psychological domain. It's a brain activity. But the activity of the brain depends upon how burdened it is. If the brain is overburdened, then the movement of the brain is restricted, because it is again narrowed down and boils down to the available energy. If the brain is tasked too much, then energy is left very less. Then the dynamism is compromised. Now, in case of the perception, which is the primary perceptions, which is coming from the primary action, then primary sensation, and graduating to primary perception, it's very limited. It's very limited perception generating and denting on the brain. Every perception dents on the brain, puts a dent. Now, if the sensation is coming from the perception and repeating in itself, then it's a continuous denting on the brain, and it is a burdening of the brain, which blocks the dynamism of the brain and also compromises the inquiry. I think few seconds are left, so let's catch up tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
At 9:30 sharp, we'll be meeting tomorrow to go further. Thank you.
Thank you.